Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Jerusalem, Israel, and we continue with calling all Jews. So big ones before Rosh Hashanah. This one's called Distortion. You shall know that not because of your righteousness, the Lord your God gives you this good land to possess it, for you are a stiff-necked people. Deuteronomy 9:6. And the Lord spoke to me further, saying, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Deuteronomy 9:13, Am Orif. It is important, nay, it is absolutely vital, to know oneself. And I say this not because this is necessarily a Jewish saying, to the contrary. It's actually, know thyself was written, it's engraved on the temple dedicated to Apollo in Delphi. I say this because it is, in fact, the truth. How to get there, however, how to truly know yourself, there is really only one way. And that is to know really where you came from. In other words, to know God. That's everything we're learning over here, everything that this channel is about. This, by the way, is the difference between Israel and the rest of the nations. Israel are told to worship God and God alone, right? There's no other God. You shall not have any other gods before him, just one God, one creator. Right? While the secular of the nations, meaning those that do not believe in God, they worship man, as in worship of self, right? Right. And the religious of the nations, they still worship a man, but they call him God. It's all part of the same sitra achra, everything. Same thing, packaged differently, both idolatrous, because it takes you back to the same point. But Israel, we are different, as said in Hosea 2:21-22. And I will betroth you to me forever, and I will betroth you to me with righteousness and with justice, and with loving kindness and with mercy. And these are the verses that we say when we put on the tefillin. And I will betroth you to me with faith, and you shall know the Lord. Veyadata, da'at, knowledge, et Hashem. You shall know God. And by knowing God, which is our point of origin, we will know how to conduct our individual selves based on the instruction, the Torah, that God gives us. It's very simple. People are making things so difficult, going this. Everything is right there. In the plain Hebrew, even. Now, make no mistake, this does not take away the fact that we are indeed a stiff-necked people, which is how God made us, mind you, making it a good thing, or rather, a very good thing. Genesis 1:31, and God saw all that he had made, everything that was created on the sixth day, within the 6 days of creation. It still stands today. There are no new creations, right? Except for when we turn the darkness into the light, as we discussed. And behold, it was very good. And it was evening and it was morning, the 6th day. God's words. We just need to adjust where to turn this stiff neck of ours. Okay, this is something that's actually supposed to save us. If we turn our necks and are defiant towards the false world and the system of lies, then it will be good for us, as said in Leviticus 18. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, I am the Lord your God. Like the practice of the land of Egypt, the world system, in which you dwelled, you shall not do, and like the practice of the land of Canaan, the abomination that needs to be cleansed, to which I am bringing you, you shall not do, and you shall not follow their statutes. We are not supposed to follow anyone's statutes, not even their way of life. We have our own individual way of life that has nothing to do with anybody else in the world. We are not supposed to live the way they live and do what they do. That's really the bottom line, as we can see here. And again in Leviticus 20:23, you shall not follow the practices of the nation that I am sending away from before you, for they committed all these sins, and I was disgusted with them. Why do we want to go there? But if we turn towards God, as we are commanded to, as said in Deuteronomy 13:5, you shall follow the Lord your God, fear him, keep his commandments, heed his voice, worship him, and cleave to him. As a result of turning our faces towards God, our neck, our stiff neck to the nations, to the world system, but our face towards God, We turn to show our stiff necks like we said to the world. Our face turns towards God, and then what happens? Numbers 6, 24, 26. May the Lord bless you and watch over you. May the Lord cause his countenance to shine upon you. May the Lord raise his countenance towards you and grant you peace. Don't just turn the other way. And why am I saying all of this? To show that God made us this way by design. Because in the end, this trait that he instilled in us will serve us and will save us. But like all things, we are going to need assistance. And that is what is happening currently. It doesn't seem that we're working well with the carrot, right? Here, look, all this goodness. Oh, I love you, God, right? Which is why the stick is, well, more likely. In fact, it's already begun, right? This has two main functions. One, the first, is to completely rid us of the Erev Rav within our ranks. You got to beat that out of us. The harder Israel gets, the more likely those who are really not of Israel will leave. I'm talking about what's currently happening right now, as tens of thousands have already left over the past year. And you have others making aliyah. You see whoever, and we're talking about Jews, right? Even Erev Rav are Jews. The ones that don't need to be here, they can't wait to get away fast enough. And those that come here while we are receiving rockets and missiles and all this stuff, you know where they belong. They belong right here. All this is written about what's going to happen. So like we said, tens of thousands have left over the last year in pursuit of a better life in, I'm not even joking, Germany, Spain, or any other of the impure lands who slaughtered their grandparents. Good riddance. And the second function is for whoever is left to be set straight. Warnings do not work when the Erev Rav are running the show, because they are running the show. So we need the Erev Rav beaten out of us, the disobedience and foreign ways beaten out of us, and the corruption and reliance on the system to be beaten out of us. There's no other way. We're so inundated and we can't tell the difference. We think that this is how it is, but it's not. Then whoever is left, God will refine. God willing, we'll discuss that in the next teaching. If there, well, we'll see what happens. Case in point from Masechet Megillah 14a. Vayaser hamelech et taba'ato. אמר רבי אבא בר כהנא, גדולה הסרת טבעת יותר מ48 נביאים ו7 נביאות, שנתנבאו להן לישראל שכולם לא החזירום למוטב, ואילו הסרת הטבעת החזירתן למוטב. The king removed his ring. Right? This is from Esther 3:10. We know that anytime it says the king in the book of Esther, not King Achashverosh, but just the king, it refers, it's a hint towards God. Rabbi Abba Bar Kana said the removal of Achashverosh's ring for the sealing of Haman's decree was more effective than the 48 prophets and the 7 prophetesses who prophesied on behalf of Israel. Being nice, giving warnings, they don't really work. Let's be real here. I wish they did, but our history has proven otherwise. You can't say, oh, no, just look right now. Again, you have millions and millions of Jews. I gotta focus on the Orthodox Jews, because if you're secular and you don't know and you never heard that connection, fine. But again, my issue is with Orthodox Jews, God-fearing Jews, Shabbos, kosher, davening, all this good stuff, and you're just not coming to Israel now. You have no idea where we are, do you? Wow. Yeah, anyway, Jews today react to prophecies in the same way they did back in the day to the prophets who gave them. Why do you want to scare the people? Why are you full of gloom and doom? I don't accept that this will happen. No, I don't want to hear this. All these answers I have received, not only from Jews outside of Israel, but Jews here too. I heard all these and more, right? We don't listen. Again, history, okay? History going back, but history. But not only do we not listen to the warnings, we don't listen after the hammer comes down. For instance, y'all obviously know about the magic cure, right? For the virus of unknown origins, yes? Okay. The magic cure that just so happened to be pushed and promoted by the legal drug cartels with the most corrupt record of any company in history. This is a fact. Look it up. Now, believe it or not, already in 2015, it was known that this was coming and that they would strongly, if not forcefully, inject you with this stuff. When I heard about this, I was thinking to myself, Baruch Hashem. Why? Because there's no way that a God-fearing Jew would ever allow a foreign, untested substance to be placed inside their body. That goes against our religion. It goes against our faith. You are not allowed to do that. Surely Israel will be saved from this. I was positive. I'm like, Baruch Hashem. Wow, I see how it... Boy, was I wrong. I mean, because we are so stiff-necked, there's no way. We would absolutely reject this. Yeah. And again, what about October 7th? It's so in your face that this was planned out from our end. In fact, with all the information that was exposed, there's no other way to look at it. So that's wonderful that Tzahal is doing all these things right now. It's not Tzahal, it's God. He uses everybody as puppets, okay? If you allowed something like this to happen and then you cause the problem, see this? Virus of unknown origins. You cause the problem, you come in like a savior with the solution. Look what we did. People are really just not understanding. They're not seeing it's a pattern already. You can't deny this. So I'm supposed to applaud the government and the military for doing their jobs. You don't see that both sides are being played here. In the end, it's going to come down to the real Jews to turn their stiff necks to the powers that be and return our faces to God. These are hard things that I'm saying right now, and people do not want to believe this. Again, could you imagine? Wait a minute. You want to tell me that everything I believe is a lie? That the government and the army and the this and the that, and we have no friends actually, and it's all a plot and a plot? Yeah. Just look. You just need to look. But in the meantime, they are doing everything in their power to distort that which is so obvious, that which is in plain sight. There's nothing you can't hide it anymore. That's why distortion is the only option. Remember when we said last teaching that Mashiach comes only through a distraction? By the way, I was contemplating what to call this teaching, stiff-necked or distortion. But really, the stiff-necked is what's going to save us from the distortion. In any case, so it's called distortion. So last week we discussed, it said in Sanhedrin that Mashiach can only come, three things will only come through a distraction, right? In Hebrew, the word for distraction is translated as distraction, is hesech hada'at, which literally translates to a distraction, or rather a distortion of da'at, knowledge. A distortion of knowledge. Knowledge is something that you know, right? Knowledge means there needs not to be faith because it is right there. I'll believe it when I see it. No, because then you won't believe it. You don't need to believe it because it's right there. So the things that are right there right now, the only way that people cannot see what is right in front of them is if it's being distorted. So then how could it possibly be that we're talking about the coming redemption of Mashiach, right? All day long on all the channels, everybody's talking about Mashiach. Yet, Mashiach can only come through the distortion of knowledge, hesech hadat. What is going on here? There is the truth. There are facts. It is in your face, and yet you can't see me. This was written down 2,000 years ago, and it was derived from the Torah, which was received almost 3,500 years ago. How could it be that very few see this, and yet the overwhelming majority cannot? We're looking at the same thing. It's right there, but nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Hesech hada'at, distortion of knowledge. The very definition of distortion is as follows. Distortion, the act of twisting or altering something out of its true, natural, or original state. The act of distorting, a distortion of the facts. Do you not see it happen everywhere across every media channel? Both right wing and left wing, you don't see. This is what is happening everywhere. There is a narrative. This goes across the board. This applies to almost everything in the world today. This takes facts, the truth that is in your face, and it gives it a different narrative. And when there is nowhere left to go, what do? They change the definitions themselves. For instance, ivermectin, one of the best and safest drugs to have ever been invented. This was established already in 1987. It can take out COVID within 3 days. No problem. What was peddled to the Americans and to the world? Horse dewormer. Remember this? I'm just giving you like one stupid small example that changed the entire narrative. And you all know how that played out, right? Look at where the whole situation is right now. Everybody's already calling it for what it is. The same thing with the October 7th. We have witnesses. We have footage from both Hamas and Israel. Testimonies from captured Hamas murderers, which do not match the story that the mainstream is trying to propagate. Look at what is in front of you. Don't listen to what they want you to hear. Modern day Zionism, for instance, is not biblical Zionism. You see people across the board, right? From, forget names, but yeah, it's all the Zionists, the Zionists, the Zionists. They're not wrong, absolutely. But they have no idea what they're talking about, but they're not wrong. What is Zionism today is not the original Zionism. We're going to talk all about this. Not in this class, though. Okay? What else? Christianity calling the Tanakh, the point of origin, the Old Testament. You see, distortion, all of it. Take the original, put something else on top and say, no, now it's that. But if you try and just move away the manure, oh, look, here is the word of God. This doesn't match. It doesn't hold. Knowledge is the opposite of faith, as we discussed here plenty of times. Isaiah 11:9, they shall neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mount, for the land shall be full of knowledge of the Lord, as waters cover the seabed. Lo yir'u velo yeshchitu b'chol har kodeshi, ki mal'a ha'aretz de'ah. The land of Israel will be filled with knowledge of the Lord, like water is covering the seabed, which means everybody in Israel, full knowledge of God, knowing that. Do you believe in God? I don't need to, because I know. When you know something, you don't need to believe it, as faith is removed from the equation. Case in point, Masechet Yevamot 24b. The sages taught, converts are not accepted in the days of Messiah. Why do you think? Similarly, they did not accept converts in the days of King David or the days of King Solomon. Rabbi Eliezer said, what is the verse that hints at the halacha? Where did this come from? Behold, they may gather together, gol yagul, right? But without me, whosoever shall gather together, gar, with you shall fall on yours. Isaiah 54:15. The word gol implies only to a convert, ger, who becomes part of Israel, part of the Jewish people, when the Jews are living in exile, which is today, at a time when God is clearly concealed. Without, meaning where it said in the verse, without me, are considered part of the Jewish people. Anybody that wants to convert when Israel is going through it, welcome to the family. We might very well be wiped out. If you want to be wiped out with us, you are indeed one of us. As opposed to those who, I want nothing of this, I'm going to go live in Deutschland, right? The Fatherland. But another who wishes to convert in the time when God is clearly revealed shall not be accepted, in the time of David, in the time of Solomon, and again in the time of Mashiach. This happened twice in our history, and we have the Erev Rav among us because of this ever since. Exodus 12:37-38. The children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Sukkot, about 600,000 on foot, the men besides the young children, and also a great mixed multitude. V'gam erev rav alaitam went up with them, and flocks and cattle, very much livestock. Okay, there's the first time the Erev Rav came with Israel. They would, so the Hebrew slaves, Their God won? Yeah, we're definitely with them. We supported you guys the whole time. See how that works? Okay. And in the book of Esther, 8:16-17, the Jews had light and joy and gladness and honor. This is when everything got flipped on its head. And in every province and in every city, wherever the king's orders and his edict reached, there was joy and gladness for the Jews, a banquet and a festive day. And many of the peoples of the land became Jews because the fear of the Jews was upon them. The word in Hebrew is mityahadim, became Jews or Judaized. It doesn't say hitgairu. It does not say converted. They became Jewish. You guys know I don't like the word Jewish. I'll use it if I need to in that concept, in a context within a sentence, but I'm not Jewish. Kinda. I'm a Jew. So everything is external. So many people want to join Israel today from the outside. They do certain things that Jews do from the outside, but really, they're not converts. Well, you think God's not going to sort them out? Of course he will. Where were they when the Jews had it the worst? You see, this is what it comes down to. When they were being broken in Egypt or on the brink of annihilation in Persia. But when the tables turn, that's when you want in. That's when everybody wants in, of course. The point being, the knowledge of the truth is not lacking. Only the truth is lacking, as we read in Sotat and in Sanhedrin. The truth within people's own psyche cannot deal with this reality, so they reject it. It's too difficult. It is hard. You have to pray so hard to God to open your eyes. And again, it's hard to blame them to a degree. When I learned all these things way back when, again, it hit me like you wouldn't believe in 2015. I thought I was losing my mind, and everybody around me were positive that I had lost my mind. Looney bin was my next stop. Well, maybe not that bad, but really people like, oh, Nebuch, oh, what happened to you? It's like, I just got a whole dose of the truth, right? At once. You're getting it in pieces over here, but you're getting it when you could already see it. They thought that I was nuts. I might have thought that I was nuts because it wasn't visible back then, right? But now everything that was written thousands of years ago is currently happening. And yet still, people will not see what is happening. That's the part that makes you, wait, am I taking crazy pills right now? This is the distortion. It is both external and internal. You take something that is true, you corrupt it, so people will look at it knowing what they know and yet still see what they tell you to see. They asked Hitler, they're like, dude, how did you get your entire enlightened nation to follow suit? He said, well, first of all, there's fear, there's propaganda. And if you keep hammering somebody with a lie, even if you, the one who propagated that lie, comes forth and says, just kidding, I lied, they will refuse to believe you. Current situation. Okay, you see this. You heard it from there. It's so ridiculous that many Jews today, their idea of the functions of Mashiach, for instance, it comes from the distorted works of Christianity. What the Christians believe Mashiach is and what Mashiach is supposed to do, we as Jews, it's very different. In other words, people are like, oh yeah, he does this, and like, no, actually, we have lists of what he needs to do. Thus far, no one has fulfilled any of these lists, any of these categories. I've given these teachings in the End from the Beginning series. You could check those out if you want. Sure, there are some elements of truth there. That's the only way to weave the lies within there. But if you would properly educate yourselves on the words of Torah, the real Torah, you'll see so many holes that logically you cannot say that there's any connection between what they believe and what we believe. They're two very different things. And I say this, I know, because some of them are really good and they got the best intentions in place. They want to see Mashiach, although it's their Mashiach, which is not at all who we need to be seeing. Some more examples of this distortion, for instance, are all in the protests happening in Israel, right? These protests began 9 months before October 7th on an issue that if they actually did their homework just a bit, they would see that they're all being used as puppets and that their actions led directly to the events of the massacre. Everything. Today, they continue to protest. Same faces, same sponsors, same logos, same everything, different reason. Meaning, this is not about judicial reform, nor is it about hostage release. This is about anarchy. And let's say that all the hostages are released tomorrow. Do you think they will stop protesting? Obviously they won't stop protesting because it's not about that. Of course not. These are all just excuses. This is one big distraction. Distortion. The sheeple have no idea that they're sheeple, nor do those who oppose the sheeple. They are sheeple too. Rabbi Kalzan said something so true, which I completely agree with. The right-wingers are complete idiots, useful idiots, he said. And the left are sitra achra, straight up evil. Why are the left evil? It's basically the party of immorality, of undoing the natural order of creation. Look at everything that is trying to promote is the new modern secular anti-God world. Anti-anything that is sacred or moral. Everything, right? These are the opinions who do not contribute to the betterment, but do everything that they can to destroy everything that is sacred, like we said. This is the party that hates God, and even more so, hates those who love God, like we read from Isaiah and from Masechet Sota. This is the worship of self. And why are the right-wingers idiots? Because they're actually having conversations with the left at the parameters that they set. Remember how once upon a time the Western world did not negotiate with terrorists? Why not? Because that only means temporary appeasement and a sign of weakness, a motivator to continue to be rewarded for bad behavior. Something doesn't go your way, you start protesting and you start breaking things. What is this reminiscent of? A child throwing a tantrum. I spoke to my cousin recently, who is very much boots on the ground, deep into enemy territory. This guy is friends with everybody. Again, we're talking about like those fighters that are there that I can't tell you everything, and if I do, not over an open line kind of situation. But he's friends with everybody. He doesn't hate Arabs. He's friends with Arabs. He is a people lover, okay? He says most of the Arabs inside Israel, with an Israeli citizenship, of course, they hate Hamas and Hezbollah. They know exactly who they are because it's like, what, you can't see who they are and what they're doing, to not only to us, but to their own people. They clearly see how these terror groups are making their own people suffer. And these Arabs don't understand. They say, I don't understand these stupid leftists, Israelis, who are protesting and have been protesting, destroying the country and the unity from within. He goes, these Israeli idiots are what left us open. Nor do they understand the right for giving the left the time of day. You see, classic divide and conquer, but you can't see it because of the distortion. Here's another example of in-your-face distortion causing divide and conquer. Okay, I've given this example before, but listen up. If you haven't heard this, you'll love it. Knesset, Israel. When you hear these words, when anyone would hear these words, especially Jews in Israel, or, Jews from, 99.9% of the Jews, they would all say, well, that's the Knesset in Israel. It's the Israeli parliament, right? Remember how we said that Zionism today has nothing to do with the real meaning of the word? In other words, where it actually really came from. Like I said, we will be discussing this, God willing, in detail so you'll understand. This is the use of name recognition to falsely promote an agenda. Knesset Israel is a rabbinical term based on the writings in the Tanakh. The word Knesset means gathering, lehitkanes, to gather. A synagogue is called Beit Knesset, a house of gathering. That's the literal translation. But what it means is actual congregation, to congregate, or the congregation of Israel, Knesset Israel. Same name, very different meaning. The reason they use it is willful defiance. It's the middle finger to God. People are going along with it, either because they don't know or they just don't want to know. They take something holy. Again, here's just another classic example. They take something holy, something pure, something good, and by name alone, slap something else on it that is quite literally the opposite of what it is, connecting the testaments. Only one. See, the real Knesset Israel represents the unity and ingathering of the 12 tribes of Israel at the end of days when Mashiach is here. That is the actual term of Knesset Israel, the ingathering of Israel, the unity of Israel. Each man according to his lot, according to his tribe, for the final rectification of the world. Unity is the key word here. When Israel are in unity, even if we are in idolatry, God holds his judgment against us because his children are at peace with one another. What father would not want that? We gave an entire class on this concept in Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer in the teaching titled Repentance, the way back home, King Ahab. You'll see. So long as Israel were at peace with one another, though they were ruled by one of the most wicked kings in our history, and they were all idolaters, God steadied his hand because they were at peace. My kids, though they're off the derech, they love one another and they are at peace. By the way, he does this with the entire world. What happened with the generations of the flood, where all the sexual immorality came about? That wasn't why God destroyed the world. He was gonna, but the angel said, wait a minute, you gave them this desire, you gave them this urge, now they're acting upon it. You can't hold that against them. God said, you know what? No problem. In the meantime, obviously the clock is ticking and it is being held against them, but the judgment is being held, meaning it's not being unleashed. What was the point that God said, enough? Vatimale haaretz chamas. And the land was filled with chamas. Robbery. In other words, the moment they started turning on one another, all of a sudden now you're going to pay for that and for all the sexual immorality that you've been up to. And that's when God destroyed the world. Same thing with Sodom and Gomorrah. You wouldn't believe what these people were doing, okay? What we see in the news today, where do you think they got their ideas from? So in any case, the moment they killed one of their own, that's when God heard the zakat stom, the cry from Sodom, and he says, I'm done with them. Now here's the danger. When the world is unified, just like in the time of the Tower of Babel, when the world is unified and Israel are present, there's only one thing that the world is going to do. They're going to destroy Israel. Because they know when we are one, as in, if I say it here, who knows, my video might get flagged, although it is a thing apparently, right? When they are all one together in an orderly fashion, you dig? Then guess what? We are called one sheep in the midst of 70 wolves. And when those wolves have peace, they are coming to eat us. But what is God going to do like he did back then? He's going to start making them turn on one another, and then the sheep will escape. Okay. So again, believe it or not, God prefers peace amongst brothers than even us following his commands. Not that we should not follow his commands, obviously, but these are two different topics. This is Ben Adam Lamakom, between man and God, and between man and his fellow man. Got to focus on this, and got to focus on everything over here. So what happens when we turn on each other? God releases the animals, and you get October 7th. Fact, not fiction. We discussed also the 5 types of Erev Rav. There are 5 kinds of Erev Rav within Israel, and the worst of them are Amalek. Amalek, there's external, and there's also internal from the Erev Rav. And what are the characteristics of Amalek? What do they do? Amalek causes division. Left, right. That's exactly what's going on. Okay, so why is all this stuff important? Because the way this abomination of what they call Knesset Israel, it is the polar opposite of its name. And this is by design, so much so that so long as it stands, there can never be unity in Israel by default. Did you hear what I just said? So long as there is a Knesset Israel, I'm pointing this way because it's right there. So long as there's Knesset Israel, there can never ever be unity in Israel. So we know that is going down as well. Check this out. You're going to want to hear this. How do you call a generation of the Tower of Babel, right? That generation, what are they called? The generation of dispersion, right? Because God caused confusion among the people in order to divide them. Why? Because when they were united, look at what they wanted to do. In Hebrew, this is called Dor HaPalaga. Dor, generation, not door, house door. Dor HaPalaga. Palaga. From the word pilug, lehaflig, generation, the generation of division. That is the rough translation of it. The Israeli parliament, aka the false Knesset Israel, which means unity, has parties within it, right? There's this party and that party and so on and so forth. More than 2 parties, like in the States, there's, I don't know, how many parties were there? There's like over 50 parties at one point. Okay, from the extreme right to the extreme left, and of course there are 2 Arab parties there as well, because we're so liberal and tolerant that we allow Hamas supporters in our parliaments. Apartheid state, yeah. What are these parties called? They are called, are you ready for this? They are called miflagot. Literally, divisions. Dor HaPalaga, the generation of division, these parties are called miflagot, divisions, meaning that so long that the false Knesset of Israel stands, the real one, the real unity and ingathering can never come about, because it's not going to come from there. So long as this system stands, no matter who you vote for. Well, I'm going to vote for the religious guys. I'm going to vote for the secular guy. I'm going to vote for the Arabs. I'm going to vote for the pot smokers. There's a Green Party. Anyway, there's a party that dressed up as pirates. They do whatever they want here. In any case, so long as you vote for any party, you will by default be voting against your brother. Do you see that? There's no right answer. Everything is wrong. You see, Knesset Israel is the label, the one everyone is fooled by. But what's underneath? What's underneath you pick up the hood, right? You look at the engine, is quite literally division. But wait, it gets even better. What is the fuel that drives this propaganda machine? Our votes. Like it matters. Our votes, yes? Okay. And do you know what they call a vote in Israel? Kol, as in voice. How many voices did he get? How many voices did she get? How many voices did this party get? When we vote, no matter who we vote for, we give our voice away, which is, in a sense, the power of Jacob from Genesis 27:22. The voice is the voice of Jacob. This became a blessing to us, spoken by Isaac, solidified by Moses from Deuteronomy 33:7. And Moses said, O Lord, hearken to the voice of Judah. Shema Adonai Kol Yehudah. And where do we apply our voice? Our true power. It's not just speech. It's the focus and suggestion behind our power. Where do we give it to? To division, you see. Do you understand? We learned this in Calling All Jews, in the last Calling All Jews, how the government absolutely has to be destroyed before Mashiach comes. And now I hope you understand why just a little bit more. These things have to take place. So long as it's there, we will always be divided. It doesn't matter. There are good and bad people on both sides. Doesn't matter. The whole system has to come down. The moment I start breaking down what modern day Zionism really is, then you'll see it very clearly. And I'm telling you right now, it has nothing to do with Jews. Nothing. Another thing we learned last week, because again, I'm a Zionist. Biden said he's a Zionist. Maybe that's not a club we want to be part of. You know what I'm saying? 2 very different things. So another thing we learned last week is that that's going to happen is that all the money will be gone from people's pockets, meaning it's going digital. Like we said, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is not a conspiracy channel. This is what our sages wrote down 2,000 years ago. That has to happen before the Son of David comes. And you'll never guess what happened last week. This is the mainstream news reporting this. The Israeli Prime Minister, in the middle of war and everything that's going on, the Israeli Prime Minister ordered to cancel the 200 shekel bill. That's the equivalent of your Benjamins over there, right? And the purpose was to, again, all this is written down. The purpose was to gradually limit cash spending until its complete obliteration. What I tell you 2 weeks ago, and 1 week later it comes out. Okay. And again, this is not my stuff. We're reading the news today from 2,000 years ago. And in the meantime, in the same article, he wants to limit any free market transactions that exceed the 5,000 shekel limit. That's nothing. Without approval of the tax authority. We gave you a list. We told you what's going on. We told you what's happening. It's currently happening. It's happening, and wait and see what's gonna happen. But the overwhelming majority, they will not see this happening. They could be, you know what? Actually, the majority, I already know this. People don't even want to hear these things. They know. I'm like, no, if it's not going to make me happy, I don't want to hear it. Okay. No problem. The government gave some sad explanation as to why they're going to do this. The reason they said is in order to fight the black market, right? And now the bank chancellor says that it's not going to happen, but it's not because they said no, it's because of the people. There was an uproar. The moment they announced this, the people started freaking out and getting rid of all their 200 shekel bills in the black market, doing exactly the opposite of what they said, right? In addition to showing severe resistance to the idea that all their money will be taken away. It's a sad reality, but you can clearly see the motivator here. And I'll tell you something else. This is no different than our ancestors in Egypt. According to the Midrash, at the end of Exodus chapter 2, where Israel cries out to God and then God sends Moses, right? It wasn't because the Egyptians were murdering our children. No. It was because all our money was being taken away. See, back then we finally realized that we were laboring to no end, just for the sake of labor itself. Kind of like today. I mean, exactly like today. Injecting our children with the magic cure that's killing, you know what I'm talking about, no problem. But the moment you mess with our finances, y'all just crossed the line right now. But wait for it. We still haven't figured it out yet. That all our labor is in vain. That everything that we want to do right now within this world, none of it actually matters. Few things matter, but not because people's focus is not coming from the right place. What? I'm a doctor. Good, great. You're going to help people. But guess what? When Mashiach comes, people are not going to get sick anymore. In other words, during that messianic era, people are not going to get sick. They're not going to need psychiatrists, right? We're not going to need jobs anymore because things will be growing on trees. The world is going to change. We're going back to the Garden of Eden before the sin. So, when all this happens, when everybody is going to realize that everything that they've been doing and laboring for the wrong reasons is in vain, that's when the existential crisis is going to ensue. Many will likely give up hope, right? But some, hopefully, will return to God. Just the fact that this issue of abolishing the hard currency was raised and is currently being discussed exactly within our timeline is very telling. Distortion. If you can't see this in the world today, then please review again the last two teachings because we laid it out for you over there, one thing after the next after the next. You need to know this or you will perish. Now my words, Hosea the prophet's words, meaning God's words, from Hosea 6:4. Nidamu ami mibli hadat. My people were silenced, snuffed out for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge. You reject what is in your face. I will reject you from being a ruler to me. Seeing that you have forgotten the Torah of your God, I too will forget your children. Oiva avoy. Because you reject knowledge, you're rejecting fact. It's stupid to reject knowledge. You're just denying what's right there. Now, I'm not that arrogant that I can think for a moment that I can open people's eyes to the truth, okay? I already know this. I know this. God is the only one who can do that. To think otherwise is vanity. Few people see this, most do not. Meaning the knowledge that is right in front of your face. I'm laying things out. I speak like this to people. A lot of people don't want to speak to me. I totally get it, but look, no, I don't. But don't you want to know what goes next? What happens next? Just read. At least you'll know what's coming, and you'll see the time gap for all these things is shrinking, which means that no, I don't want to know. I just want to go. But you got no future there. You're going there. Why are you going there? There's nothing there for you. No, I wanted to leave me alone with this stuff. Like, this is what I'm getting. If God doesn't wake them up, then I guess they are supposed to stay asleep or to be silenced, snuffed out, as the verse says. The only thing any of us can do is put the knowledge out there. God will do the rest as he sees fit. So, if you're here and you don't see what is going on, if you are watching this and you are saying the dude is nuts, you have but a few short days before Rosh Hashanah, the day of judgment for all mankind, not only for the Jews, okay? All mankind. Ask God, beg him to open your eyes to the truth. Do you understand that in a few short days, every last man, woman, and child in the world will be judged for life or death? You understand what's happening? You need to understand. The moment the sun comes up on Thursday morning, that's it. What is going to happen to you that year has already been decided. Let that sink in. Beg God that you will be able to quiet your soul and see clearly through all the distortion. Not what you want it to be, not what you want to see, but what it actually is, the truth. If you have any bias or are only looking to strengthen your position and your personal belief, then honestly, why are you even bothering? But if you humble yourself and ask for the truth wholeheartedly, there is no doubt in my mind that God will oblige. He said it all over the Torah. All the sages speak of this. Shuvu elai v'ashuv elechem. Come, return to me and I'll return to you. But wholeheartedly, don't hold on to anything like, is what, God, please confirm that what I believe is the truth. And then I'll keep on living my life like this and everything will be fine. You'll get that confirmation. Believe me, you will. Because it also says wherever a man wants to go, the heavens help him go there. You need to come correct on your own. Okay. So God, he's good with his word. Okay. You can trust him. He does what he says. That being said, because again, we're winding down right now. I would just like to thank everyone that has been supporting the channel over the last 6 years. My Torah is your Torah. Please just remember that, okay? Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your conversations and your desire to learn and to get closer to your Creator. There is nothing more gratifying to see than another human being's eyes finally, when you get that, your entire world just opens up. It's a whole new reality. I appreciate you all so much for spreading these teachings far and wide, for sharing them with your friends, with your family, with anybody else that you believe can benefit from them. We are all but a link in the chain, and we are all relevant, but I can't do any of this without you. This is all I can do. I put up videos. How far that goes, that's all you. I'm not a rabbi, just to be clear. Again, I'm just a Jew from Jerusalem who sees what is going on around him. I've had some experiences, okay? Everything there is out in the open. You could look it up in the channel. And I'm using the tools and the platform that God gave me for the sake of all of you. Okay? This is why I'm doing this. Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be doing this. But here we are. So, to all you out there, may the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Israel, bless you from Jerusalem. May this be the year that we finally get to welcome our Mashiach. May this be the year where we begin to see the revelation of God's face. May we all return to our Heavenly Father. May you too be a stiff-necked people turning your back on the corrupt system of the world, but your face towards God. And may we experience the greatest event since the creation of our reality, the final redemption in great mercy. This will be my last teaching of the year. Shana Tova U'Metuka. Have a good and sweet year to come. Brace for impact. God willing, I will see you all on the other side, as there is always more to come. Bye-bye.